implications on development, sustainability, environmental health, poverty eradication, access to health services, and youth empowerment. The fast-growing population presents both challenges and opportunities and calls for greater attention to population and development issues. 11th July is World Population Day. The National Population Council will mobilize various stakeholders to raise voices and devise sustainable actions on the issues affecting the population. Dr. Jotham Musinguzi is the Director General at the National Population Council, and he is in studio for tonight's discussion. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Walter.
And let's start at the point of understanding, the nature of our population, because Uganda has the world's youngest population with over 78% below 30 years, and of course 52% of the Ugandans are below 15 years. What do you make of the Uganda's economy, and its ability to cater for this kind of population?
Well, Walter, Uganda's economy is relatively small, and in that regard, it is fairly constrained by this age type of structure for the population. We have predominantly young people who are therefore dependent, and that is a major strain. And so if government is trying to get people out of poverty and you have a high dependence ratio, then obviously work is not easy. So it is the youth population is a challenge. Of course, we can talk about how it can also be turned into an opportunity if people had, if these young people are educated, they have skills, they are healthy, and also the availability of jobs. Then that also could be something that can be helpful to the country. So there are both opportunities and challenges, as you have said. You
do talk about opportunities, and of course this leads us into trying to understand, as the council, what solutions have you, mapped out to ensure that the strain is reduced, of course, on the resources especially?
So the National Population Council, which advises government on those policies, those programs, those strategic actions that must be taken to ameliorate the situation, have put in place policies. We keep revising them, but the idea is to make sure that we reduce the high fertility in the country. When we reduce high fertility, it will also reduce dependency. It will also reduce on the population growth rate. The rate will reduce, will be more sustainable. And in that regard, if you reduce your fertility and also reduce mortality, people who are dying, you will find that you have a population that is having more people, more working population compared to the young ones, and that way you are able to manage things better. So those are the things that the National Population Council is involved in doing.
You talked about,
So we are at the center of making sure these policies and programs are in place to do that. They are challenging, but we are almost getting there, and we are moving. There are some good things happening despite the challenges, but we have made some positive moves.
High fertility, like you did speak about, is highlighted in Vision 2040. Where do we stand towards achieving this goal?
As you know, the Vision 2040 speaks of fertility and population growth rate as being a challenge if we are going to achieve our major objective, and that it must be dealt with. And in this regard, we've been, as you know, Uganda had a fertility of 7.4 children per woman for a very long time, and even up to 1991. But with the policies that we have put in place, we have been able to start reducing fertility. It hasn't come down as much as we want, but right now it is at 5.4. So we have reduced it by 2 children in a generation. That is something. Of course, we need to get lower, but we are moving. So some programs are working, and we are also making sure that not many Ugandans continue to die, and one of the proxies that we use is to see how infant mortality is coming down, how many children are no longer dying, how many children are surviving, in other words, child survival. And currently we are seeing that whereas, for example, in 1991, for every 1,000 children, 122 were dying. Right now it is at 43. Again, no child should die, but 43 is you can see there is a reduction. And once you start reducing fertility and reduce mortality, then parents will start realizing that their children are going to survive, so they will not produce too many children. So there are those sort of complicated factors, but that's what we are dealing with, and we are making some progress.
I know you did mention that you do advise government on, you know, how to move forward, especially in achieving certain goals, which include, you know, the population structure and, you know, attaining the government's goals as set in the different, you know, the government has made, of course, different ways. We have the Vision 2040, we have, you know, it has given tasks to different ministries. One of the challenges that came out previously, when during the manifesto week, I did attend almost, you know, all the ministries at the media center when they were presenting what they have achieved, you know. And one of the challenges that emerged was that there is a breakdown when it comes to harmonization into these different sectors. That the National Population Council will work, of course, towards achieving its goals, then will not, you know, harmonize what it has found out with different bodies which would be related, probably like the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics, or maybe the Ministry of Health, which deals with, you know, the general health of the country. Do you find this a challenge?
Actually, to the contrary, we are actually working very closely with these sectors. For example, the data that we use, the data that I have just quoted, the figures are from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, and we pick them from there, and we see what the policy implications are. We work with the Ministry of Health to also, they know, these doctors, health workers, they know this, but we try and make sure that we work with them to know the policy implications of what is happening, so that as they provide services, they know that maybe this service needs to be more pronounced, needs more budget than this one. And then we also work with the National Planning Authority to make sure that what is contained in the Vision 2040 is implemented properly, is well coordinated. It is true that there are still challenges of coordination. There are still challenges of inadequate budgets for these priority areas, but these are things that we are working on. And as government, we see that we are working better as time goes on, obviously also having to pay attention to the remaining challenges along the line.
I do understand that you're also working on making it to Omoro district in about 4 days, on the 11th, where the celebrations will be held. But apart from, you know, just traveling to Omoro district, government has traveled to this district. What else is that district going to benefit? Of course, you know, in terms of even understanding what the day is about, because if we probably just did a small survey, we would be able to find out if those people are aware or not of what the population day is about.
We are not just traveling to Omoro. We've been in these districts, and like tomorrow I am going to go to Omoro. We have week-long activities, making sure we have seminars, workshops, raising awareness with the leaders there, the elected leaders, the civic leaders, the civil servants, to make sure they understand the issues of population in their own district, and to make sure what else can they do. But we also raise awareness on the radios. We work with the local people there to make sure that even the individuals there know what to do, because a lot of these issues to do with the population can also be dealt with at individual level. So our role is to make sure that as we go around the district, as we do the policies and programs, the people are aware, the leaders are aware of what needs to be done, but also the sectors, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Youth, Gender, the National Planning Authority, the Bureau of Statistics. We are all working together. But also environment, the Ministry of Environment, urbanization, all these issues, Ministry of Education. We work with all of them, and we have focal persons that we work with to make sure that we harmonize our position. If you feel that these things are not well coordinated, yes, there is some degree of that type of thing. But by and large, we endeavor to do what we can in the circumstances.
Let's conclude this with recommendations for the government, probably projections for the next 5 years.
For the next 5 years, we in the Population Council, we are mainly stressing that the country needs to make sure that mortality, of the population, especially children and mothers, we reduce it considerably. And that brings in a number of sectors which are doing this. We also want to make sure we concentrate on reduction of fertility so that fewer children are born, so that the population can become smaller at the bottom but bigger in the middle, so that we have a relatively bigger working population. It is important to know that when the country reduces fertility, it actually brings back a youth bulge. And the youth bulge is what we are going to be working on. Make sure they have the education, they have the skills, but also to make sure government has created jobs for them so that they can be the engine of growth. And that's the message that we are going with on 11th of July this year, Wednesday, in Omoro district.
Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Jotham Musinguzi, the Director General of the National Population Council. We do appreciate, giving us your time here on NTV. That was Talk of the Nation. We are going to take a short break and we'll return with sport.
Newsbite is brought to you by
Safe Drive Uganda, improving road safety.
Mutemuli serious. Come on, mukumba takara government chokka. Then you are happy with what you do.